Hello, this is Zoe from No Safer Place, and it is week 4 of the Zoella Book Club. This week I reviewed Finding Audrey by Sophie Kinsella. Now, I'd never read a Sophie Kinsella book before this one, which all of you said was a sin, so I was so excited to read this, and it was absolutely brilliant. The story focuses on 14-year-old Audrey, who suffers with several anxiety disorders that make it impossible for her to deal with everyday life. I can't say what brought these episodes on because you find out a little bit more as the story goes on, but even the reader doesn't really truly know the extent that what happened to her. But the anxiety has got so severe that she very rarely leaves her house. She struggles to talk to anyone besides her counsellor and her family, and she wears sunglasses all the time, even indoors, to see her family, everyone. She wears sunglasses all the time. And this book is kind of Audrey's road to recovering and getting better and her ways of coping and dealing with anxiety. Dr. Sarah encourages Audrey to make some home videos of her and her family and sets her kind of mini challenges to enhance her confidence and make it easier for her to do bigger things like going out for the first time and things like that. Audrey's brother Frank is completely obsessed with computer games and starts taking part in this serious gaming competition, which means Frank's best friend Linus starts to visit the house much more often than Audrey would like. Audrey doesn't like new people, so this was a very scary concept to her to have Linus around all the time. And Frank kind of says to her, "Oh, you need to be more normal when Linus is around. You're scaring him with how scared you are of him." And funnily enough, it turns out that Audrey and Linus strike up an unlikely friendship, and Linus gives her the confidence she needs to start making those baby steps back into the big wide world. And you can see her confidence growing every time that she sees him, and it's so lovely. And one of the things I love about this book is the way that the family was written. It's very rare in a book to find a book that portrays a realistic family that the reader can really relate to. All the characters in the family are just great. Usually you get like characters that are just unrelatable in families and they're either too funny or too serious and you can't relate to it, but this family is just so normal and it's completely what I loved about this book. Obviously this book discusses mental health and anxiety in depth, but what I think is it could have included more detail on what panic attacks are like, on what anxiety attacks are like, because it feels as though the way Sophie's written it is as though Audrey already expects her audience to have an understanding of what anxiety is like. And although I'm sure many of us do, some of the readers won't, so it'll go a bit over their heads as to some of the things she's experiencing and some of the things she's feeling. Although it definitely was a 5 out of 5 from me, it was such an easy read. I finished it in one sitting and it was so funny. There were some parts that I really laughed out loud, so it's not a heavy read at all. Now, as usual, I'll be doing my favourite quotes from the book. The first one is on page 23. The trouble is, depression doesn't come with handy symptoms like spots and a temperature, so you don't realise at first. You keep saying, "I'm fine" to people when you're not fine. You think you should be fine. You keep saying to yourself, "Why aren't I fine?" And that's exactly what anxiety is like. You don't feel like you're normal at all. Next quote is on page 79. "I'm sorry you have to go through all this." "Me too." "It won't be forever. You'll be in the dark for as long as it takes, and then you'll come out." I love that quote. I think that's the main thing you've got to realise when you've got anxiety, is that it will come to an end. You don't feel like it will, but it does. And the last quote is on page 260. "But I'm sick of this bloody jagged graph," I said in frustration. "You know, 2 steps up, 1 step down. It's so painful. It's so slow. It's like this endless game of snakes and ladders." And Mum just looked at me as if she wanted to laugh, or maybe cry, and she said, "But Audrey, that's what life is. We're all on a jagged graph. I know I am. Up a bit, down a bit. That's life." I love that quote. All of the quotes in there are brilliant, and I loved it so much. Now, a quick thing I wanted to ask you about was Vlogmas. A lot of you want me to do Vlogmas this year, so I'm definitely going to do it, but I would just like some ideas of what you would like to see from Vlogmas. So leave me a comment, give me a like, subscribe. I can't wait to hear from you all. And also, I think next week it's going to be a Monster Calls, but if you'd like me to review something else, leave me a comment and tell me what you think of this video and what you thought of this book if you've read it. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye!